Okay. Can you hear me okay? All right. So this is the same unit that I have here. Okay. And what you need in order to connect the Ethernet to USB is you're going to need an Ethernet cable and a couple of these USB dongles, because what you're doing in essence is you're connecting to, so these are the USB dongles that that's right. Yeah. So these are just regular Ethernet. One of them I've got with a USB A connector, and this is the one that's going to connect to the back of the unit. The other one for my laptop, I have one from Lenovo. So it's a totally different brand, and it's with the USB-C connector. Okay. So what I do is I'm just going to connect the Ethernet cable to both sides of this. And you have to make sure that don't talk through a hub. You got to connect directly into your laptop. So don't connect into a USB hub, because sometimes they have a challenge resolving all the addresses correctly. And so you will connect the cable like this. And then on the back of this other unit, I'm going to switch the cameras again. Sorry. So on the back of this unit, have you powered up any of these yet? Have you powered any of these devices up yet? Okay. Okay. And so this is that cable that you should already have, right? And for the power and for the ignition switch, right? And then this is the dongle next to it that has the USB connector on it. So you will plug in one of those dongles into this side, and then you will plug the other side into your laptop USB. So one of the things you have to watch out for is, whenever you do networking any devices, you have to be on the same subnet. Think of it, and I apologize if you already know a lot about networking, but if you don't know much about networking, think about it as you don't have a GPS. And if you're in two separate neighborhoods that use two different addressing systems, you won't know how to get from one neighborhood to another unless you have someone that shows you the route to get from this neighborhood to that neighborhood. Once you're in the right neighborhood, you know how to use the address system. And so the IP address that is by default set on this device is a 192.168.0.2, I believe it is. And so that's the 192.168.0 network. And so you need to put your laptop on the same network in order for it to be able to know how to communicate to that device. If you don't, they won't be able to communicate. And I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. Let me share my desk here. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay. So, and you can see my camera. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to, and so I'll pull up this, are you able to, what are you able to see on my screen? Can you see? It's not, I want to show the whole thing, but it's not showing everything. Let me switch back. Okay. I should be able to see all the windows in my screen. Okay. All right. So so you can watch and see what happens. So the minute I just unplugged from my computer, the one dongle, and you see that icon went away, right? Watch it come back. It'll be called Ethernet 5. Ethernet 5, because the unit's not connected. It's connected, but there's nothing powered up on this device. There won't be any connections here. So when you double click on this in the networking tab, and I can take some screenshots for you later and show you so you can come back to it. Normally it's like this. This is what it normally looks like when you first open this up. If you don't make any modifications to it, it's set up so that, and you'll go to the IPv4. Normally it's set up to obtain the IP address automatically. And where would it get that IP address? Is from your router. Normally. So if you're connected to a switch that's connected to a router, it'll assign it an IP address. But there is nothing, if you connect your laptop to this guy, neither one of them will be assigned an address by the other, because there isn't an IP address distributor, quote unquote, on either one of them. So they don't distribute IP addresses to anybody, because that's not their job. So you have to manually put it on that same network address, which for what we want to do is we want to put it on that .0. And so we can set it to anything other than the same address as the other one for the last octet here. So for this octet, we'll put it on .10, for example. And the others will be 255, 255.0, and we'll hit OK. So now when we turn on the other device, when we turn that unit on, you'll be able to see it says enabled, identifying network, so now it's connected. Okay. Over here, now, it's also saying that it's connected to this device. If we disconnect the cable, you'll see that connection was closed. There's nothing connected here. And you'll see that it's not able to see what kind of configuration for the application and the boot IPL. It can't tell what's installed on there. But if I connect it, you'll see this come back here again. And it'll establish the connection here. So see that it's seeing the device again. It's connected to that address. This is the address of this guy. So if we wanted to edit the address of this unit here, if we wanted to edit its address, we would edit it from here by clicking on Edit Connection Settings. I probably should have started from the beginning and closed this application. So how much have you used? Have you used the PowerVision Studio, and do you have it? The 8.9.10. Okay. So if we were to start from way in the beginning, from PowerVision, when I first opened it up, it wasn't connected, obviously, to. Gotta bring it over from my other monitor. It wasn't connected to my laptop, and it didn't have any of the configurations in there. But once you get it configured, I open, and I'm going to wait for it to connect to it. Okay. And so now you can see I'm back to where I was before. Okay, so let's see if we can get you up to this point. Do you have those dongles? Do you have those Ethernet to USB dongles? Okay. Okay. So it's a very good question. Normally, you want a straight through cable, like a crossover cable. But with these newer devices, they're able to understand even if it's just a regular Ethernet cable. If it's not, it doesn't have to be. But if you have a patch cable, if you have a crossover cable, that would work as well. So I don't know how old is somebody, like if your laptop is very old, like if you have a very old NIC card on your computer, it won't know how to deal with it. It won't know how to understand unless you have a straight cable, a crossover cable. If you have a regular Ethernet cable, it won't work. You would have to have a crossover cable if you have like a really old laptop. With these really old NIC cards, they didn't know how to do it back then. I don't know what year roughly, but I mean, my laptop's only a couple of years old and it figured out how to use a regular cable because the NIC card is capable of doing that. I mean, is your laptop reasonably recent? Okay. Okay. In that case, then it should be able to resolve just a regular Ethernet cable being plugged in. Yeah. So once you have that, and you can tell if you're connected again by doing this. So if we go back to the network settings, so we can start from the beginning again. We go back to the network settings. What did I do with the network settings? I must have closed them. So you get to the network settings by typing network here, and then you'll find, can you see my screen, what I'm doing? So you get to the network, computers and devices, and network connections, and then you'll see all the network connections. Again, if you unplug it, it'll go away. So I'm going to send it back to the original. So you click on properties. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing because I moved to the other screen. You click on properties, and then you go back to this IPv4. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to send it back to try to get an address on its own. And now you'll see it's trying to identify, but it'll never finish because no one's going to give it an IP address. Because there's nobody to deliver to give it an IP address, because the only one that it's connected to is this guy, and this guy is not in the business of giving IP addresses. All right, so you can see it'll continue, and now these are what are called like default IP addresses that a device just uses if it can't find an IP address. So the 169.254 space is, when you see this, either somebody set it manually or it's one of the default addresses that a device will just inherit because it doesn't have an address. And so if we change the IP address of this guy to something in this space, then they'll start being able to talk as well. The point is that they both have to be in the same space, but we already know that this one by default is this is the address is 192.168.0.2 with a subnet mask of 255.255.0. So you'll do the same for this device. So you'll see that it's not connected. It's not able to talk. And so we will put them on the same, gotta get the network settings back up here. Sorry, let's see. Get that back here. And you'll see another kind of clue. You'll see that there isn't anything, any significant traffic between the two. But as soon as we send this to the 192, 168, and 0, and we'll give it a 10 address, 255.250. And now we hit OK. And close this. So now it recognizes it and it knows who he's talking to. He's talking to the PV1200 GF-T-C. All right, so once you do have that connection, now if you wanted to upload firmware, what you do is you go to this firmware button here. And once you have your firmware, if you want to still create it, you can create your firmware based on, and we didn't go through any settings, but you make your, like, whatever logo you want to use, everything you want to do, you create the firmware. And then over here, you go to this package to actually create the actual package that you want to use. And keep watching here. Once it's done, it'll tell us as it's finished creating or compiling the package of information so they can, okay, so now it's ready. So now once we hit load firmware, it's going to load it onto this device. Right now, I already have this already loaded in from before, but I'm just going to reload the same one. I do load firmware, and now it's uploading the package to the device. And once it uploads it to the device will apply the package, and you'll see it. It'll give us an indication that it's doing that. But right now, it's still uploading, transferring the firmware package that it created on our laptop through the PowerVision software. It's transferring that over to this PV1200. Once it's done, so now you see it turned off for a second, and it'll give us an indication now it's loading. So it's verifying the install package first, is what it says. I apologize. The camera is a good camera, but I don't know why it can't focus very well on that screen. Now it's updating the bootstrap. You'll see once it's done with all this, it'll be complete, and it'll have the firmware package with the everything that we transferred over present.